Okay, everyone. Welcome to the first official Twitter space by Nova DAO. My name is James DiMartino. I've been in the NFT space for the last year. I'm actually doing my PhD on the consumer consumption process of the NFT consumption. So this is a very exciting time because when I was approached by these founders to come and be a project manager for this new NFT project, I was actually very interested in how different Nova DAO was running and the creative ideas, tokenomics that were going into it by these founders. So I would like to present both founders here today, Raghav and Anav. So let's start with Raghav first. Can you please introduce yourself, say a bit who you are, and a bit of your background?
Yeah, GM, everyone. Glad to be here. I've been in the blockchain space about 5 years now. I think it was Anav, who is my co-founder, who introduced me. He told me there's something called Ethereum back in 2016, and it's been a very, very interesting journey ever since. I got into NFTs also because of Anav, actually, sometime in the middle of last year, when he convinced me to buy a Pixel Wall Founders DAO. And yeah, I've met some amazing people, and now we're building NovaDAO, which aims to sort of help bring these early stage opportunities to everyone around.
Awesome, that's very good. Now, Anav, would you like to give a little bit of introduction about yourself?
Um, yeah, so as he said, we got into crypto a long time ago, and I just want to mention that like Raghav and I go way back. Like we've been close friends for the better part of a decade now, and yeah, so we've just generally sort of been exploring the space together. I guess for 2 cycles now, right? Now, I specifically academically, like, I'm very much interested in like public policy, economics, and so on, and for that reason it does sort of rankle me that I'm not an engineer, right? So I love that we've gotten to a point within like crypto and web3 that you can build things based on like you know a certain modicum of expertise in those domains, or like just econ and whatnot, because I'm personally within web3 the most bullish on DAOs by a huge mile in terms of at least what they can do for the world, if not specifically just the number going up.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. And we've known each other a lot through the Pixel Vault Founders DAO Discord. Again, that Founders DAO has given me a lot of insight into a lot of NFT drops, and I've gotten the opportunity to network and get to know Anav and Raghav through that Discord as well. And I think today is also a bit of a historic day, isn't it? Like we've just seen a 115 F sale for a board ape. So it's a very, very exciting time in the NFT space as a whole. So look, NovaDAO is quite different than many of the other NFTs that I've actually seen. So where did you come up with it, and what separates this from the other from other NFT projects?
So when we started visualizing or imagining NovaDAO, the idea was sort of to approach it from two ends. Not only think about value added for the investors, but also for the founders. With that in mind, we came up with this model where obviously for the people involved, it's a great opportunity to enter these ventures projects early. Like we all know, looks rare. There was a whale funding round at 15 cents. Everyone would have loved to be a part of that. So opportunities like that, but also we really thought about how can we add value to the founders themselves. And I'm always reminded of a story about the founder of Pinterest, who apparently just went around San Francisco coffee shops asking people, oh, just please try my product. Like he literally went around for months. So having that, so what VCs today lack is obviously an access to a good representative sample of your customers. And I thought a healthy functioning DAO would really go a long way in aiding founders and guiding their products without obviously creating too much chaos. So I think those were the two foundational ideas of NovaDAO.
In addition to that, like what I find kind of really interesting and frankly it's fun and it's exciting is that Raghav and I were looking at the sort of ethos or whatever that we've seen popping up within Web3 before him and I got into it. Like most people, NFTs were us sort of segue into this space, right? So like we were getting like I remember one specific thing that we were just like, at least gestating a little bit was the idea of like representational profits or distribution being given to just a general holders or participants in a network, and in this case it was just a normal e-commerce thing. And obviously we've seen that come to pass with stuff like looks rare, so that's a hell of a motivation. But more specifically, obviously, like with any space, there's always certain problems, right? It doesn't always go as one might expect. So I myself was very much bullish on fractional ownership when I entered the space. Um, that's why I was drawn to Punk's comic, right? Because that was one of the fundamental parts of the first mint, at least. It gives you like the fractional ownership of those punks. As it's turned out, though, people don't end up valuing their fractional ownership of assets in a vault all that highly. Like if anyone's been acquainted with it, the current scenario with the ape DAO is sort of representational of that. Like the apes themselves at that DAO purchase have obviously gone insane, 4 or 5 times up in ETH value, but the tokens themselves have barely gained any value. In fact, they lost some value. So my assumption for this, based on my experience just having been in a few of these DAOs, is that people don't give it that value because it's not instantly liquid, one, and two, it's not individually liquid. So even if it was hypothetically, well, like those are part and parcel, I suppose, right? So those are the problems you want to solve. You want to give you individual and instant exit liquidity on, like, just seed stage funding. So yeah, it was a problem I saw in this space. For one of the things which I was most excited for in this space, and yeah, we decided that let's try to think up a way to make that work.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good response. I think one of the biggest issues, and as we mentioned, problems within this space is that there are a lot of DAOs around now. It seems to be a massive buzzword as well, but how many of them are actually set up as proper DAOs is probably like a very, very small fraction. Also, many of these DAOs, there's funding opportunities, but they're not actually funding anything, or it's a very minimal percentage. So I love the idea of Nova DAO that it's going to be able to fund, and we're going to get tokens to be able to burn them, and then that's going to drive incentive for people to, not only purchase more of the NFTs, but have an incentive to fund projects like play to earn games, for instance, or really interesting artwork. So what is one of the point of difference that you guys are going to have with Nova DAO? Because there are, as you've said, a number of problems around in the space, and one of them is the setting up of DAOs. Like that takes a long time. Some never get made, even.
So I think like specifically there's already a lot of stuff being done by people with more expertise than us with regards to just the infrastructure in general. That's again one of the best parts about the space, right? It's all composable. So if someone makes a set of contracts, more likely than not, they're going to let people use it. And iterate on it for that matter. So for example, like Moloch DAO, their contracts are open source. Moloch is the DAO that they are using to fund Ethereum 2's development, right? And that's obviously a pretty significant problem for everyone involved here. So I think just the nature of this space sort of speeds up the progress of these kinds of issues being sorted out because of the composability, both socially and technologically. Because unfortunately, Raghav and I are not technical, but these tools, etc., are very much being, they're gaining prominence.
Okay, great. And so in terms of let's go on to the artwork now. For Nova DAO. So, what is the kind of inspiration behind this? Like, I can see that there's a lot of religious elements to the art. But where did the genesis of the idea come from?
So yeah, while there are obviously religious influences in the art, funnily enough, Anav and I are quite the opposite of religious. Where this idea came from is both Anav and I, ever since I've known him since the 8th grade. So ever since then, we've both been into quizzing, so like quiz bowl trivia and all that. And we've both found it fascinating how deeply rooted mythology is in our culture. And that's not just stories that we tell each other, it's also a lot to do with, like, cuisines, language, everything. And we thought it's a great representation of, like, cross cultural pollination, which is also so relevant in the NFT space. So we thought, yeah, this would be a very good way to sort of represent people coming from different backgrounds together for a singular goal.
And I can see that some of the really epic, like I've seen some of the artwork and the epics and the really rare pieces do look really awesome and very well detailed. And there's a lot of color. There seems to be a very big, a good contrast with male and female avatar pictures as well. Yeah, so that's very interesting to find out. So in terms of this DAO though, how does this provide benefit to the consumers? So by people that are buying this NFT, like yes, the art is good, the art is cool, but it's more than this artwork project. It's more than a PFP project. It's not essentially a PFP. Oh, in a way, it is a PFP project, but there's a lot more to this than people buying the NFTs. Can you please explain?
Yes, exactly. So I think this is where Nova DAO is very different. It's sort of a novel spin on a VC DAO where it doesn't look at the idea of a VC DAO as a group of people pooling funds and investing into ventures, right? It rather looks at how do we make that DAO into a promoter of investments through the community at large. So when you buy our PFP, our NFT, sorry, obviously you become a member of the DAO and you can stake it to earn Nova, which is a utility token. But we'll have incentivization models that actually incentivize DAO members to sell their Nova forward and give these opportunities to people. So not only is our DAO significantly bigger than most of the venture DAOs of today, but also it really aims to be sort of the managerial body of a fund rather than the sole executioner of sorts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so what kind of ideas are you playing with to implement this in the future? So what kind of ways of your points of difference?
So obviously we're developing the DAO. That goes without saying. We're developing all the protocols for that. But I think besides that, we have two things that are in our minds in the future. One is obviously because Nova DAO is going to be so much bigger than most of the other venture DAOs. It's important that the right kind of behavior and contributions are being incentivized. So we're going to really focus on creating systems for that. And of course, another big thing somewhere in the medium term future is Nova Deus lore. We'll definitely not let it be just a PFP project. We think it's a rich storyline. It's a great sort of avenue to expand upon.
Another thing I wanted to. Oh, I might be echoing there. Sorry. But another thing I wanted to focus on is that, see, like our primary goal here is it's accessibility, right? We want to, like, for example, like Raghav mentioned, the Looks seed round. We wanted to just bring the opportunity to basically financially profit off these communally owned and operated projects, right? Not necessarily completely decentralized governance, because that can very easily sort of devolve into chaos, and we don't want that. So with regards to that, one of the things that we would be very particularly looking at and working on is sort of the org chart, right? There has to be some sort of hierarchy in play for any organization that is deliberative in nature to do well. We're aware of that, and I wanted to clarify that, and we'll be working on that.
And I just want to say that, like, I mean, there's a pretty solid team here. Like, I mean, to be brought on as the project manager for this project, it's quite well funded. Like, there's a pretty good budget for marketing and everything. So I'm quite impressed in terms of the back end and how everything's been set up, and the team here that we've got is quite strong at the moment. Going on to the Nova Dios lore, would you like to give a bit of a explanation on what you think the kind of universe that is going to be created around these characters, or and elaborate further?
So I won't go too much into details, but yes, we have been sort of imagining this whole idea. So we say Nova Deus, right? Nova Deus means new gods. And Anav and I have constantly talked about, even written some stuff about imagining sort of these characters that are inspired from ancient mythologies in a sort of a cyberpunk kind of world where they are sort of going around fighting for what's right in sort of in superhero parlance. So definitely along those lines, sort of a very interesting play on juxtaposing uh, like I said, ancient characters into maybe, I don't know, let's say 50, 100 years in the future, and sort of building something cool from there on out. How it will take place, it might be comics, it might be a game, I don't know. Right now, my main priority is first building up the DAO, but definitely, Anav and I often play around with ideas for Nova Deus lore, and yeah, maybe Anav can expand on that.
Cool, awesome. And I think this brings me on to the next question, which is how can people stay up to date with all of these updates with Nova DAO? And eventually, I understand this is quite early. I know that the mint is gonna, is not gonna be soon. It's gonna be in a month or so. But where can they mint?
So I think this is the one place where we're actually not that different from other projects. Where join our Discord, follow our Twitter. We'll have lots of details, especially this week. Lots of fun giveaways, lots of more details about the project, and yeah, also about the mint. We're planning the mint for sometime around mid-March, hopefully, and we'll release mint specific details closer to the date. But for now, yeah, anyone who's listening, please do join our Discord. Lots of fun stuff coming up this week.
Yeah, and there will be heaps of giveaways and opportunities, and not just giveaways of the NFTs, but there'll be actually a lot of really good prizes and raffles on other successful NFTs that we'll be giving away as well. We hate the word whitelist, so we're going to go with pre-sale. We're gonna make it very fair and have a pretty good process around the Discord. So please make sure you join. Perhaps Tim can put the Discord link up at the top of this chat so that we can eventually, if you want to join or you have not joined. I think there's still about 5 or 10 spaces for the pre-sale within the Discord. I think Anav and Raghav, I think you did a great job on explaining a lot about the what Nova DAO is and the history and future installment. Any of the audience here, would you like to raise any questions to these devs? You've got them now. You might want to say something, you're unsure about something, or you want extra clarification. We're opening up questions to the floor. No questions at all?
Maybe we can ask the people who are listening, what kind of ventures would you guys look to fund if you were a part of Nova DAO? Any specific areas like P2E games, music, NFTs, anything that you guys are looking at particularly? The reason I ask is because obviously a big part of a VC or any kind of investor is investment philosophy, right? But we want our DAO to be forming the philosophy rather than having a philosophy and then finding people who subscribe to it. So yeah, I would be super stoked to hear what kind of projects or what kind of reasonings you guys look for when figuring out whether to take a position or not.
So would anyone like to ask any kind of, investment, or if they had a choice to vote on whether it was a play to earn game, would anyone like to say what they would like to see funded? Okay, well, look, I guess if people do eventually think of something that they would like to see, you can always pop on the Discord and type it in. We would like to see more artwork, NFTs, or more play to earn games that involve more, more tactics, or are not just limited to browser based games, for instance. We want to see this funded, or we want to see the DAOs that actively engage and, provide effective rewards to the community that are buying these NFTs. I think that's really important in going forward. And I think, and as I said at the start, of today, we're hitting like a very, very interesting time in the NFT space at the moment, aren't we? I mean, 115 ETH sale for an ape today is quite a monumental achievement, considering where we were this time last year. I mean, I wasn't in the space until March last year, but this time, early time last year, NFTs were just starting to like, a lot of people were saying NFTs are dead. They were making good ETH sales, but nowhere near this kind of volume. Um, it actually was Beeple's artwork that kick-started off a brand new era, and here we are, almost over a year in. Almost a year into it, and just seeing the kind of potential that the apes did. When I remember seeing them at 0.24, so it is a very interesting time, and like it's very good to see that projects like NovaDAO are coming out that are changing things up, because I know how many of the same projects have we seen in this time, and it starts to get quite depressing when we start to see many copycats, and they're just getting and flipping around images, right? But when projects like this come out that are very different, stay tuned, and we'll make sure to keep you all updated on everything that comes out with the project, and we'll be running Twitter Spaces couple of times each month, each on different topics, and please be sure to stay tuned.
Just to add to what you said, James, I think what's interesting is, besides the fact that this space has rapidly progressed in under a year, also it's changed its nature, right? Like from PFP projects, we're now into a sort of a P2E phase, and we're talking about more about unlocking utility with the NFTs, whereby just 6 months ago, it was all about pictures of rocks and Beeple and whatnot. Not saying that art NFTs are dead, of course not one bit. But the whole idea as to what people are looking at is now, I think now we're entering the phase where we're really looking at unlocking the potential of NFTs in real life use cases. And I think that is why it is the perfect time to sort of be building a DAO right now.
Yeah, yep, exactly that. And I also think that a lot of people are waking up to the complete potential of NFTs. So I still feel that a lot of use cases towards NFT in general is underutilized almost completely by many NFTs that are coming out. So we're seeing a surge of famous people buying apes. Didn't Justin Bieber just buy one last night or something? So there's like there's this inflow of people that are coming into the scene and buying and instigating mass FOMO as well on scales I haven't seen in this space before. So I think that it is a very exciting time with all these different projects coming out.
Yep, definitely. And yeah, once again, guys, do join our Discord, and feel free to sort of DM either of us with any questions you may have. We're glad you guys joined us today.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll cut the Twitter space there, but for those of people that have not had the chance to listen, we'll put it up as a podcast on our Discord. So if you missed 1 week, you can just go in and catch up and be on to date.